to Scary Reddit's Let's Not Meet stories.
Followed on the sketchy side of town. I've been on this sub for a couple years now, had my own couple let's not meet moments, but for some reason tonight I just needed to share what happened. For context, I'm in school still and work for my family member on certain weekends at a local college selling concessions at the stadium. It's about twice a month and the stadium is off towards the edge of town. It's Friday night, I just had gotten out of school and I had to go straight to work. I get to work for 4 hours, half shift tonight, and my boss, Aunt, tells me we need more spoons for tomorrow's event. We sell ice cream, and these events have like 5,000 plus people at them. I say okay, I'll go grab them on my way home. The only store open with heavy-duty spoons is all the way on the other side of town, and I still wanted to go meet up with some of my friends and mess around. I decide to take the faster but more sketchy way, around the outskirts of town. I live in a weather bipolar state. It snowed last night, but I figured the roads would be fine enough even if they weren't plowed. I take off to the store and the first 5 minutes go by and nothing's wrong. I haven't seen a single car or any buildings the entire time, but keep in mind it's approaching 9 p.m. and I'm on the outskirts of town, and no one really takes this way in case they really have to. All of a sudden I see something in the corner of my eye, and it looks like a man. Roughly 5'8" I'd say, wearing shorts, t-shirt, and a backwards hat. He's in the ditch, walking in snow, when it's 10 degrees out. My first thought is to pull over, but I'm on the phone with my mom at the time and she warns me not to, as some things have happened before in this town. Example, couple years ago a college girl was kidnapped and found dead rolled up in a rug in 2014. I consider stopping, but for some reason I tell myself not to. I wasn't really worried about anything. I'm a young dude driving a big pickup truck. Last type of person anyone would want to harm, right? I pass the man, going about 40 miles per hour. Like I said, roads aren't the best. I drive not even 500 feet past him, and immediately, a car that I did not see at all before turns on and pulls out of a field entrance off the road and starts to follow me. At first I thought I just was focused on the man in the ditch and didn't see a road, and that's where they come from, but I later found out there was not a road there. Now, again, I'm not super worried. I've watched my fair share of crime movies and read plenty of stories on this sub, and I didn't feel it was a threat yet. I start to approach the town again and have to take some turns to get where I'm going. I turn left, the car turns left. I turn right, car turns right. I go around a roundabout and skip my turn and go twice as no one else was there, car follows. At this point I start to worry a little, but maybe they just need to go to the store also. I then pull up to a stop sign. I wasn't on the best side of town either, may I add, and I turn without my turn signal. The car follows. Now, at this point I should have went straight to the police station, but I still didn't think much of it. I'm 2 miles from the store, where plenty of people will be. I take a few more turns and the car continues to follow me. I completely blew a stop sign at a non-busy intersection and the car does a quick stop and go and catches up. At this point, I'm 2 turns till the store, so I'm still not worried. I turn into the store, and the car turns also. The store also has a gas station, so I pull there first to act like I was getting gas. The car sits off to the side of the road, in between gas station and store, and just sits there. I wait about 10 minutes and the car doesn't move. At this point, I start to get worried. I'm a young kid alone at night near the bad side of town. I call my friends I'm supposed to meet up with later on, and give them the license plate for worst case scenario, then take off to the store. I cross the street, and the car comes straight behind me. I'm freaking out the phone, not knowing if I should call the cops or not. I go and park as close as possible to the store, and the car parks 3 rows behind me and a couple down. It's getting late at this point and the store's closing soon. There's only a couple others in the lot. I turn my truck back on and go park on the complete opposite side of the lot, get out, and I completely bolt inside of the store. I'm not super overweight, but I'm not skinny either. I'm about 6'1" and 200. Who would want anything to do with me? I get spoons, take my time in store. I go to call my friends to walk back outside, and my phone is dead. I look out the sliding doors and suddenly there's a white van next to my driver's side. Looks like no one's in it but the back windows are covered and it's running. Big red flag. I run to customer service and explain everything, but they think I'm some young kid messing around. At the time I didn't see the original foul car, but no way in hell I'm going outside with that van next to my truck. After waiting what seemed like hours, 30 minutes, the van pulls forward, and the original car appears from the side of the building. You can from the in-store Starbucks window they talked, and both drove off. I wait another 10 minutes, and dash outside. I speed to my friend's house, and when I get there I park in his garage. My one buddy asked why there's a big orange mark on my tire, and my heart sinks. When I was inside, the follow car must have marked my tire. After inspecting rest of truck, we find a small pipe dropped in the bed of my truck surrounded by snow. It was about 2 inches wide and I'd say about 18 inches long, wrapped in duct tape. It was not mine. I was alone, no phone, scared, in a part of town I'm not familiar with. I try to laugh it off, but now that everyone's asleep I can't help but think what would have happened if I walked outside. I've always been sort of ego boosted on the fact I'm a chubby fat dude that no one would want to mess with, but after tonight I realize anyone can be targeted. So, creepy men who followed me all night and waited by my truck. Let's not meet. Update: police came and took the pipe today, as multiple of you said, and I knew already they can't really do anything about it as nothing really happened. They said that they'll look into the license plate, but other than that nothing much can happen, as no crimes were committed.
Someone tried to abduct me, North Texas, 1980. I have never shared this story except, strangely enough, to my teacher at the time. I was in the first grade at Northside Elementary in DeSoto, TX. We lived about 3 long blocks down, as my mother liked to call it. I personally feel it was a lot more. My sister and I were brought to school on a regular basis and walked home. My parents decided to divorce right at this time. My dad moved out and we started seeing him every other weekend. My mom began dating someone else and I remember she no longer became interested in taking us to school as much. She became very preoccupied with her new relationship and I remember that she often had me walking to school as well as coming home. Thinking back now, I am not sure why I was late. There might have been a doctor appointment or something. I remember that it wasn't very late at all. Maybe just an hour or so after school started. My mom pulled up in the car and I got out. I remember hoping that she would wait there to watch me go up the flights of stairs and inside, but she drove right off, to my dismay. And this is when I saw him. A man, pretty normal looking, stepped out of a car looking directly at me. My mom had pulled off and this man was the only person around. He crossed the street quickly, at an angle, coming directly towards me. I remember turning and running up the steps. There were 3 flights of stairs with landings in between. When you are a little girl, these stairs seem much bigger. I remember looking over my shoulder and he was literally running up the stairs after me, and I had that horrible gut reaction and ran as fast as I could. I remember the double doors in front of me and I was panicked, thinking I would not make it. At that young age, I felt the energy coming from this otherwise normal-looking person who looked like a dad. I remember the huge intrinsic feeling of doom and urgency to go through those doors. And I did. And I immediately turned around and saw him, standing on part of the second set of stairs, and he just stood there looking at me as I looked at him from inside the building. And then he looked very frustrated and turned, walking away back to his car. I remember telling my teacher about it. Maybe a week later, a police detective showed up to interview me about what happened. This makes me think it may be connected to something that happened in that area at the time. I don't think I have ever been that afraid in my life. And it was a powerful internal fear. It was like my body told me immediately to run.